Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Peace be unto you. I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad. Welcome to Liberated Sisters. And we have a phenomenal presentation for you today. We are welcoming our great, beloved, beautiful, spiritual sister, Vicki Dillard. We had planned to, just FYI, do a pre-record. However, circumstances permit us to go live. And so we're on the Closing the Gap Broadcast Network. Please spread the word. Again, Liberated Sisters, a Q&A with Sister Vicki Dillard, filmmaker, founder of Vicki Dillard TV. She's a spiritual guru, among other things. Our big brother, Sultan Muhammad, who is our special guest today, is going to be further introducing our sister properly. What we're dealing with today is Sister Vicki has recently had a dialogue. It was supposed to be a Q&A, turned out to be an address, a dialogue, if you will, with presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Upon being hand-selected by Brother Jeff at the Historical Cultural Center. This was in the 5 Points, Denver, Colorado area. And so after hand selecting, they invited her to speak from her mind, from her heart. You know, she will do that anyway. And she did that day. Stated Sister Vicki on her social media platforms, and we'll give those hashtags. We invite you to follow her there if you don't already. This is a quote. He, meaning Robert F. Kennedy Jr., was soliciting our votes. And so I simply told him what matters to us in order to make that happen. To be courteous and ensure I was following protocol, I had RFK's team confirm that my time was good. They acknowledged it was. Notwithstanding, it's clear that changed, and I left. He and his team shook, end quote. I bear witness to what I observed, that is what happened. We'll again introduce our special guest with the Q&A. We invite you to participate, put your questions for her in the chat, and we'll be bringing Brother Sultan on, but soon. First, let us view the exchange. This is just part of them, but these are 2 clips. The first is Sister Vicki being introduced, and she begins, and then the second is RFK's response. And so let's see if we can get that going now. And again, spread the word. We have the one, the only Sister Vicki Dillard with us here today. Let me get this ready for screen share, okay? Here we go. Bear with me, of course. Okay, one moment. Here we go, everyone. Thank you for your patience.
That being said, Vicki Dillard and Anubis, welcome to the Free Think Zone. We've been having a great conversation. Vicki, I want to start with you, and that we've teed it all up, and you don't have to follow any particular question, but just what's on your heart, what's on your mind, and what would you like to ask and bring into this discussion with presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Indeed. Thank you so much for coming. I would like to talk about the Holocaust briefly, the Black Holocaust. The most devastating human tragedy that has ever existed, that's lasted longer than any other for going into 500 years. It has neither ceased nor desist, and we have not received reparations. And just up from chattel slavery, convict leasing, and all of these other injustices, and under the heel of Jim Crow, our people went to Germany to fight Hitler to deliver some of the Jews from his hand, only for them to turn around and call some of us anti-Semitic. There is a multi-volume book that talks about the secret relationship between Blacks and Jews, because we know that some of the most damning and devastating effects that we've experienced in slavery had to do with members of the Jewish community. This is important to understand. Why am I bringing this up? Because our perspective of the world is unmatched in every way. So when we talk about something being a genocide or something being a problem, I think our opinion should matter, and it should be listened to very closely. In terms of reparation, the emphasis should be lineage-based. I am not only a media personality in alternative media, independent media, but I am also a spiritual teacher. I've had supernatural encounters since I was a child. And so the thing that I'm having here, even with you here, sir, is prophetic. It was prophesied years ago. And I must tell you, what I'm saying to you is not even an opinion. It is something that I want you, with respect and great humility, to remember. There is an unseen government, and they're actually using you as well as your family. And whether, no matter who's paying you, which is suspect right now, and no matter how your positions seem to be divergent and doesn't quite make much sense when we see how strongly you are on so many other issues of justice. But when it comes down to the issues of reparations, and when it comes down to this notion of ceasefire, which is absolutely nothing at all, and your extraordinary and misguided defense of Israel, it is a serious problem. I want you to understand that whatever you decide to do, whoever it is that's backing you, and whatever your thought process, and no matter what you think about it, you're supposed to represent the people. And the majority of the people are telling you, no matter what you think about Israel, we said no. And we want to hear you say what we say in the majority. So whatever you individually think should not take precedent over the majority of us. And especially when you see folk like us talk. That should hold greater weight because of our unique position. Let me say this. Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever, that considering numbers, nature, and natural means only a revolution of the wheel of fortune, listen, and exchange of situation is among possible events, that it may become probable for supernatural interference. This was from Thomas Jefferson. He understood that the hell that they brought upon the foundation of Black America, who's responsible for the creation of America, based on our Black blood that was shed on our nightmare, this American dream to which many flee from around the world. He said, and he knew that there was going to be a moment of justice that America would have to pay. So there was nothing.
But real quick, I'm getting a signal from the back also. Vicki, you have a question? I don't. No question, it's comment. Yes, I'm going to finish my comment. How many, do I have a few seconds left? Sure. Thank you, no question. And the reason there's no question is because I've watched you, and particularly some of your exchanges, or your promised exchange you were supposed to have with Max Blumenthal, who was a foremost authority on this notion of Israel. And I've noticed how you've come down when it comes down to reparations. So it's not my job to try to ask a question about this. I want you to remember what I say and consider the things that I'm saying. I'm almost finished. Reparations is lineage, should be lineage based. And so long as we can prove that our ancestors were enslaved, that should be the emphasis, lineage-based reparations. Lineage-based reparations is a debt America owes. It is not you being altruistic or philanthropic. It is owed, and America must pay her debt. And I should say this, when I talked about the interconnection between the spiritual aspect of Thomas Jefferson, he understood that no matter what you try to put forward, whether it's vaccines, whether it's the economy,
whether it's the drama between the political parties, it is interconnected to the fact that you've not dealt with the original sin. So you're going to have hell in every area in America and around the world if we don't get justice. You understand? My last point. Judith Varney Shore. Do you know who she is? Former Israeli consul. And the meeting was recorded. I did multiple broadcasts on this. You can Google it. It'll pop up. She said a few years ago, as an Israeli government official, that the problem with Israel is Black American youth. No congressional hearing was had. We find out that the issue with the police department, many police officers in the United States are trained by the Mossad and Israeli soldiers. They come here and they fly over there. And they have actually traced credibly some of the training to some of the actual injuries and murders of our people here in these United States of America. And $4 billion every year since Israel's existence would be a hell of a down payment for our reparations. So I would say that to you, brother. And I would say to consider that America has no choice. And perhaps you were called for such a time as this, because you have a level of energy that has to do with justice and this unusual grouping of the danger that you pose to both sides could go further when you do right by us. So this resistance, last point that you have with reparations, this resistance that you have, if that isn't dealt with, you're going to run into problems in more ways than one.
Thank you, Vicki. And
so yeah, let me address a couple of things that you said. One.
Okay, so we're going to have Sister a clip on our YouTube page, and we're going to see some of our Mr. Kennedy's response. And then we're going to come back with Brother Sultan, and Sister Vicki Dillard will be here to speak with you directly. Stand by.
This last point that you have with reparations, this resistance that you have, if that isn't dealt with, you're going to run into problems in more ways than one.
Thank you, Vicki. And
so this resistance, last point that you have with reparations, this resistance that you have, if that isn't dealt with, you're going to run into problems in more ways than one.
Thank you, Vicki. And
so yeah, let me address a couple of things that you said. One is, I don't think my job is to do what people want me to do. I've never believed that. If that's the kind of leader that people want, then they should not vote for me. I'm going to do what I think is right. And everything I do, everything I've done throughout my career has shown that. Nobody liked when I was talking about vaccines. The majority of people just did not want that. But I talk about it anyway. I'm going to do what I think is right. And I would point out to you that during the civil rights movement, that the Jews in this country, and particularly the leadership of the Jews, were at the forefront of that movement and were embraced by Martin Luther King, were embraced by the other leaders of the movement. 3 Jewish boys, Goodman, Schwerner, and Cheney, were killed in Mississippi. They died so that Black Americans could, first the civil rights movement, many other Jews took great risks and suffered because of their sacrifices for the civil rights movement. In terms of the genocide, I spent 20% of my career working for American Indians who suffered an equivalent genocide of probably 100 million of them were killed. And the rest of them, the remnants of those populations, confined to reservations for 500 years. And all of this land was taken from them. And that also is an original sin of our country. And I've worked on treaty negotiations. I've worked to get them and every form of reparation that I can. I've seen the limitations of some of it. I've seen, the effects of cash reparations compared to investment in infrastructure. And I've had a lot of, I've fought for that very hard. And as I said, I believe in the moral case for reparations. What I said to Jeff is that I think politically, although the lineage-based reparations constitutionally would pass muster, I think politically getting that bill through both houses of Congress would be impossible. The only thing people will do is they'll say, let's study it. And that is just a formula for, kicking the can down the road and not doing anything. What I'm doing, what I propose are things that are actually going to help the Black community.
As Montague takes that seat, just and they switch questions, what are your thoughts in the overpopulation of profit in the prison?
I'm against private prisons, and I would repeal, if it was up to me, I'd repeal not only the 1994 crime bill, which created the super predator provisions, that created mandatory sentencing, that created three strikes you're out, but also, which was authored by Joe Biden, but also another bill by Joe Biden, which is 1986 drug bill, which
I think they're switched there. I got everybody going like this. You see them going on there. Do we got a couple of minutes? Like, give us a hard time, a hard stop, or whatever, because.
So let me just say this: the '86 bill was the bill that gave 100 times the sentencing for crack cocaine as for powder cocaine, and those two bills together, over an 8-year period, doubled the number of Black Americans Black men in prison. And now we have this school to prison pipeline, which is funneling 1 out of every 4 Black men into prison. And once they go to prison and get out, they're punished again. Oh, I'm against private prisons. If it were up to me, I'd repeal both of those acts. I think both of them are counterproductive. I would get rid of, I would expunge the records of everybody who's convicted of a nonviolent drug crime. And I would change the prison so that they do training and training in the trades, training in other areas rather than, I legalize marijuana and spend
at the federal level.
Yeah, and right now it is illegal at the federal level. It's under Schedule 1, and I would move that so that we can tax it, and then I'd use that tax to build drug rehabilitation facilities around the country, which is one of my primary, that's my kind of Peace Corps moonshot act, to build these farms around the country where kids can go, Black kids, white kids, all Americans, and they can get reintegrated in communities. There's no cell phones, no screens, and where you learn to talk to other human beings and heal from chronic disease, have good food, grow their own organic food, and I'll finance that whole thing with taxes on the marijuana. The other thing that I don't want to happen with marijuana, with cannabis sales, I don't want cannabis to be taken over by the tobacco industry or the liquor industry or, the drug industry. I want it to stay in the hands of small entrepreneurs and build, Main Street businesses from it. And so anyway,
I think that legislation was really passed based on the heavy incarceration of marijuana and cannabis. And so now it's good to hear that you're thinking about it at the federal level. I'm looking at your team and I really enjoy the conversation because even though it's some people think it's uncomfortable, it's just a conversation and we're giving some great, access to a presidential candidate. So I think you should give a round of applause for that. I mean, what other candidate has sat here for this period of time and have taken every question and has given a historical perspective and is trying to, at least give his point of view?
I'm not sure every question was taken because there was a cut and a switch, right? So you all saw this for yourself. Thank you for tuning in. Spread the word, because while we think it is very great to have a presidential candidate that is supposed to answer those questions, I mean, it's not a favor to us for anyone who is courting our vote or anything else that they want from us to come before us and be inconvenienced and squirm a little bit. I thank Allah for Sister Vicki. I'm going to bring in Brother Sultan now. We'll not get into my opinions and thoughts about all of that because at the end of the day, she was able to get a lot of Black issues out, a lot of them, and in a very eloquent, beautiful way. And for that, I thank Allah for her and for her spending time with Liberated Sisters. And so to bring in our beloved sister is our big brother, Brother Sultan Muhammad, one of the executive team members for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a personal assistant, and just a journalist, a great journalist in his own right, member of the Nation of Islam Research Group. But we are here on behalf of Liberated Sisters on the Closing the Gap Broadcast Network. Brother Sultan, take it away.
Oh, thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. And I can't think of too many better times than to have an opportunity to introduce someone than our sister, Vicki Dillard. What came to mind to me was the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and their work to help us to see the great value of woman, the great value of mother. According to those who call themselves Jews, they say you are not a Jew unless the mother is a Jew. So the father can be a Jew, but if the mother is not a Jew, the children cannot be called that. One of the reasons I think for that is because if you don't know the ways of the culture, if you don't know the ways of the people, if you don't know the ways of what you believe and what you're taught and the position that they take, whether it be political, religious, or whatever, if there's not a mother to teach it, she can't inculcate in the children. She cannot put in the children the history, the love, the being, the fervor of whatever they believe. When we look at Mother Maria, the father of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when we look at Sister Clara, the wife of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when we look at Mother Tainetta Muhammad, the wife of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when we look at Mother Khadija, the wife of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and my dear sister brought to mind to me our great Sister Ava Muhammad, who is like a mother with the study guides to put into the students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that kind of basis and understanding that it takes to build the nation that we are building. And when you look at the kind of mothering she does and the way she mothers, and then I look at my sister, my dear Sister Vicki Dillard, you can see in Sister Ava her teaching and her training. Mm-hmm. And you see in our sister, she's like a mother that comes on and she spanks you for what you should be doing. Yeah. And spanks you for what you're not doing.
That's right.
And she reminds you, she backs her right up.
Wow.
I think that when we have women like this, you can begin to see why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from Master Fard Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who helped me, very foolish man, young man. I hope I'm a wiser, older man, not old man, but older man, to see the value, more of the value of woman and more of the value of mother. When you look at the condition of our people, and you know we need mothering, you know we need teaching, you know we need redevelopment. You know, we need rebirth, reformation, redemption. It's going to come. We're going to have to deal with it. That's why 75%, or among the reasons 75% of the work is woman, because we need to be taught. The nation has to be taught. And we have to provide a territory to teach in peacefully.
Yeah.
Peacefully. The objective is peace. So I thank Allah for my sister.
Oh, thank you.
I thank Allah for her. And she needs to know that she has backup. The master backup is Master Fard Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I have to say, my dear sister, your boldness in representing that man you love.
Yes.
Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, all right.
Will tear over that man.
Yes.
I have watched you in that love, my dear sister. And I want you to know that we love you. You are a very precious woman in this day and time, because maybe I may not be able to say some of the things you can say when you say them and how you say them.
And how.
But God has allowed you to be able to say them because of the time that we're in.
Yes, sir.
So it is an honor for me to introduce one of the great mothering servants of our people, and our sister. And as I say, it is no doubt of your love for the Messiah.
Yes, sir.
And may you continue to be blessed to do what you do. Do not allow anyone to discourage you, because the third most important man in the universe.
Come on.
Loves you.
Oh.
So on that behalf, we'd have to introduce her.
Wow.
Every time we hear she's on, okay, we're trying to get to it, what's she gonna say this time?
Wow.
May Allah continue to bless you, my dear sister.
Wow.
Thank you very much for your work. Thank you very much for your work. And I don't care what anybody says. God is your provider, your protector.
Yes, sir.
You do what you do, sister.
Right. Thank you, Brother Sultan. Thank you so much.
Wow. This was, oh my goodness. First of all, assalamu alaikum to you both, my dear, beautiful sister, Miss Charlene Muhammad, and of course, our brother, Sultan Muhammad, Mr. Sultan Muhammad. And I honor you all, and of course, the Nation of Islam and all its workers and its entire body. What a privilege and an honor, and what an extraordinarily powerful introduction. And I'm so honored by your invitation, dear sister. It means so much. While we were preparing, I don't know if you know this or not, on my Facebook, it literally popped up. You may not be able to see this, but it literally popped up.
Wow. Whoa.
You see the date?
You got to send me that screenshot, please.
It's the exact date today.
Wow.
May 21st, 2019. Do you see this?
Yes.
So I had no idea, of course. This literally popped up while, again, we were preparing today. Just a few moments ago, it popped up. And I said, no, I've got to keep this open so she can see this. So if this isn't a synchronicity and divinely orchestrated, I don't know what is.
Sister,
So
please send me that screenshot.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Like water. And you're right. He answers prayers. What can I say?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know, my dear sister, as I watched it, you see the boldness of instructing him.
Oh, wait. Wait, Brother Sultan, not
All
yet.
right.
Because when she goes there, we go, I don't want to
I
put
hope
anything. I'm so sorry. I want her to just do an opening remark, because when we get into that, I don't want to stop her. I want to just, you all be able to just go. If that's okay, Brother Sultan.
Of course.
Yeah. Let's let her, Sister Vicki, your opening remarks. And thanks for sharing that. We'll come right back in.
Well, that's actually a part of my opening remarks. And what I just said earlier, with making sure that I wanted to acknowledge and honor both you and our dear brother, and certainly the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It is such a privilege and an honor to be with you. And I can't overemphasize what your words meant to me, especially when you said that you have backing and that we love you and we're with you. Doing what I do, notwithstanding the circumstances and situations and all that goes on behind the scenes, and things that can't be talked about in public, it matters when you hear someone like yourself say that you are loved, you are appreciated, you are backed, and that acknowledge what you do, because after all, it is for my people that I'm doing it. Yes. So that, of course, matters to me most, hearing it from you. So those are my opening statements. Is what a privilege and an honor it is to be with you today. I am humbled by your invitation. I'm humbled by your words, and certainly by our connection with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elisha Muhammad, of course. So thank you so much. Please, I would defer to you in terms of the questions and how you want to move forward, talking about that encounter with Robert F. Kennedy.
Electric. It's just electric. Brother Sultan, go ahead with your question. Thanks for your patience, Brother Sultan.
Yes, ma'am. And what I wanted to say, wait a minute, I'm not getting some signs from back there. Oh, no, I'm not.
I'm like, what? I'm about to look back.
He's got his okay. He's got his yes, sir.
Look.
Yes,
man,
sir.
I mean, sometimes we just punk out, and we got to deal with it, But what you did, my dear sister, and the boldness of it is one of the things needed for us to see, for the people to see. You didn't have a question because you've already heard, and you already know the answer because you know the man that's got the answers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You look at a situation like this where you gave instructions, and you need to give instructions. He will be fighting with that, if he's going to fight it, every day. He has his way that he wants to approach it, And I was blessed to be outside one day when he actually came to see the minister along with someone else. But if you're not going to answer the question, then you have to step down.
Yes, sir.
And what you made clear is there's only one representation that he can make for us, and that is freedom, justice, and equality.
Come on now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When you were going through your instruction, as I want to call it, you were feeling the things going around you.
Yes, sir.
You were feeling him because you can do that.
Yes, sir.
You were feeling, was it Brother Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Next to you. And you feel the energy that was in wherever it is that you were.
Yes, sir.
So as you were saying what you were saying, how were you dealing with that?
Such an excellent question. I have to first say that I live in the West now. I'm 45 years of age, so I've been living in Colorado now about 20-something years, but born and raised in Mississippi. And so when I was a young girl, raised by a very strong Christian family that lived the life for real, after my mother and father separated, we were raised by my mother and my maternal grandparents. So we were at home one day as a young girl, and a prophetic lady came to our home and sat at our kitchen table in the presence of my mother and my grandmother. She opened up a scripture to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1. And she declared what she, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically said, thus said the Lord, for Vicki Dillard at that age. And Jeremiah chapter 1 basically talked about Jeremiah, who was a prophet, but he was a boy. And it said that he received instructions from God that he wanted him to speak for him. And he told him that before, Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, I was in your, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee and ordained thee a prophet to the nations. This is what she prophesied to me, this text, as a young girl in the presence of my mother and grandmother, sitting at the kitchen table in Mississippi. She went on with that text from Jeremiah chapter 1. Of course, that verse 6 says, Jeremiah responded to God as a boy and said, Ah, God, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child. Verse 7 says, the Lord said to me, say not, I'm a child, for thou shalt go to all that I shall send thee, and whatever I command thee, thou shalt speak. And he was given a command. Verse 8 says, do not be afraid of their faces, for I am with thee to deliver thee, saith the Lord. He then put his head in his mouth. And so everything that Jeremiah spoke, it was anointed, because the words that he would speak were God ordained words, which is why it had the effect on the environment and then indeed the nations that he had it on, the effect that he had. But the text goes on to say in verse 10, see, I have this day set thee over nations and kingdoms. And this is when people get it twisted about who is this crazy woman that's bamming the gavel. That's often in some of their eyes a bit abrasive. The word of the Lord to him was that I've set you over nations and kingdoms to root out, to pull down, to destroy, to throw down. Then after that, to build and to plant. Then he was given instructions to get up and do what I've called you to do. And then he says this, and I'm almost finished. He says, yes, ma'am. He says here in verse 15, for lo, I call thee to the families of the kingdoms of the north. He gives more of a prophecy here. And he skips down and he says, verse 17, gird up your loins, arise and speak to them all that I command thee, and be not dismayed by their faces, lest I confound thee before them. For behold, this day I have made thee this day a defense city, an iron pillar, brazen walls against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, against the princes thereof, against the priests thereof, and against the people of the land. They shall fight against thee, but they shall not prevail against thee. For I am with thee, said the Lord. So as a young girl, this seed, though I did not consciously understand it or could even imagine how it would come to be, this thing was germinating in me over time. And this admonishment that notwithstanding who you speak to, whether it's the nations, the priesthood, that means, well, I don't care if it's a government, I don't care if it's the church, yes, I don't care who it is. The fear was of being fearful of God, because he told them on 2 different occasions not to be dismayed at their face, so I'm going to confound you in their presence. So I have to say I had 30-some years start in being bold, because that seed was germinating. And so when over time and over decades, as I, through fits and starts, tried to align my relationship with the divine, you become more concerned about what he thinks than what man thinks. And because you have nurtured that relationship over time, notwithstanding the pressure, and trust me, there's pressure to conform or to say or not to say, you don't, because you understand that there is a higher government, you understand, and an unseen force that's with you and that's guiding that what you do. So I would say that that was the biggest thing. And I understood that long before I walked into that room, because indeed that was a part of the prophecy and that which I'm walking in today.
Yeah. Wow. I have a question. Thank you for that. And thank you for your question, Brother Sultan. You know, I just love when you deal with the gavel and God today. Those are my
Right.
That's a revelation too. Yeah. In fact, there's another verse in a different chapter in the book of Jeremiah where he said, he likens the word to a hammer. That's connected to that, of course, as well. And the gavel, that was something that happened about 20 years ago. I was in meditation and prayer, and I had a supernatural encounter with some messengers, and they showed me that my word over the planet was being like legislated. And so that was the vision they gave me, was a gavel. So that's why I got it. Yes, ma'am.
I love it so much. We're getting some responses for some comments for you. Just let me say, one of the things that I realized that I may not have seen the full from start to finish exchange with the whole Q&A panel, but it dawned on me, like, there are men there, and I saw some, at least one, in agreement with you, but it didn't seem, I mean, did they bring up any of this type of straightforward concern of our people as you did? I know incarceration is one. It definitely is, hands down.
Yes.
However, with that was a cut-in question. It seemed like a campaign type of question, a safe space, which I, in my observation over 27 years of journalism, see that liberals will throw that out.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
As someone commented, I got to put this here. No, not this one. I want to, as I'm speaking about this, this came up, which allows me to give a shout out to Brother Tingba Muhammad. Now,
oh yes,
because the person talks about, I think the comment just went away, but she talks about the response of Mr. Kennedy and invoking the 3 Jewish boys.
Yes,
like Brother Tingba in his article. Was like, well, let brother's family know, but I digress. I'm getting my thoughts intertwined here because it was so much, but I didn't see that, and this is no slight, brothers. I'm just saying that the woman, has stood up and really put it to this candidate like none other on the panel, and I acknowledge I didn't see the whole panel. Or did I? What was that? Did they raise anything in the way you did, or back anything that you said in that way to later on get some type of response? Post show, did anything else come up to answer your question?
You're a very discerning woman. You are a very discerning woman. Very interesting that you said that. I should say, I found out later that there was a brother there by the name of Theo. You would have seen 2 members of his staff. There were others that were there. There was security, because the security is pretty tight. I don't know if you have been keeping up with some of what was happening in mainstream news, but he is, as a presidential candidate, a request to President Biden, because that's the protocol for security. Right. He's been denied it over and over again. And he has actually had legitimate death threats. But he's getting some sort of funding that he didn't declare there, but I did my own, little research before I got there. And
yes, he said it is suspect.
yes, ma'am. You understand.
Right.
And so apparently he's getting outside funding to even pay for his security, because it's truly, among other things, it's truly that serious. So they were there, members of his team. 2 of the members of his team that you would have seen was his main manager, that was the Caucasian lady that was in the back. That was freaking out and
telling everywhere.
Yes, ma'am, and telling the brother Theo. Theo is actually with R.F. Kennedy's campaign, but I did not know it days and days in advance, so I'm familiar with Theo. So the group was actually done by Brother Theo, who lives in the Metroplex area in Denver. And so Brother Jeff's location, which is a Black Culture Center, is a historical spot here in Colorado, which you mentioned, you alluded to, Sister Charlene, in the opening of your broadcast. So that was the location. So it was a small group that was handpicked by Brother Theo, mostly, my understanding. So when I was there, everybody that was there, because there were some actual Democratic politicals that were there. There were some other folks that there was a reason he handpicked certain people to come. All of us, because it was a small enough group, were supposed to be able to engage at the table. So the reason you saw me and the brother that you saw sitting next to me, Brother Anubis, is because they were basically calling us up 2 at a time. So when I got there, I was actually trying to go last. But the way they sat me, okay, then he said, Sister Vicki and Brother Anubis. So when they told us we 2 going up, I whispered to him, I want you to speak first. And then when Brother Jeff started, Sister Vicki Dillard. So nothing went the way that I planned at all. My whole goal was to be toward the end, that everybody else deferred. Watch this.
Wow.
RFK made it clear, because his team was freaking out at that point, he took no other comments or questions or persons, including the brother sitting next to me.
Oh, wow.
And declared he was not. That's why I used the phrase in that quote you did of me on social media, that they were left shook. He made it clear, no, they were not taking any more questions from anybody else.
Wow.
And he kept to that. So the response that you heard him give toward the end, he wrapped it up. After that, Brother Jeff asked him to at least wrap it up. And that was it. Watch this. What was not seen was my Black brothers and sisters, a small handful that was picked, were upset with me. And they were a part of the noise in the background. They were upset with me because he cut off the time. And after I was done talking, he made it clear they were seeing what I wasn't initially seeing. See, I didn't know that the manager was going to be on camera. I didn't know she was back there doing that. I heard Brother Jeff say that they're, you heard him refer in the thing, but I still didn't see them. And I saw folks in my peripheral on this side before Brother Theo and the manager was behind me. But I was hearing grumblings from the handpicked audience. And so much so that one of the Democratic officials that was supposed to speak, he's a local here, he apologized to me for criticizing me in such a public way that he felt was inappropriate. And I told him that,
wow.
I told him, brother, I said, it's no problem. I mean, I wasn't trying to be funny. I said, oh, it wasn't no problem. I mean, because it was no problem because I wasn't really studying y'all like that anyway at all. But
you were focused.
Right. And I knew I was within the time frame. I knew that I had not violated protocol. You understand? So whether I was asking a question, yes, ma'am. Whether I was asking a question or just giving a direct comment, I followed. You picked us to come up here with a brother. You told me to speak at this particular time. And even you heard me respond to his team. Do I have a few more minutes? But before I got there, I knew that I was in a short amount of time. I knew my talk wasn't going to go very long. And I knew that I was within protocol. So they were upset because RFK and then with his team in the behind made it clear that this is it. That's why they got upset with me and wanted me basically to hurry up and shut up. So I didn't even understand the extent to which was going on. So to answer your question, there was no one else that they allowed to speak.
That's right.
And he after the response you played, he said a few more words after that, and he completely ended it and got up, and his team left. The rest of us stayed over after the fact and discussed the fact of him leaving, and we were honest, some of them, about how uncomfortable, strange, and some folks felt, it was inappropriate and disrespectful. And so I was feeling more of the energy now because I had kind of come down off of this. I was spiritually zoned in. So that's when I really understood fully what was going on later. And like I said, when the guy apologized to me, I really initially didn't know what he was apologizing for because I didn't hear his direct comments. Like I said, I heard mumblings and groanings. But then I realized later exactly what that was about. Yes, ma'am.
So,
Thank you.
May I ask her?
Yeah, but I want to clarify. So when some of the folks thought something was disrespectful, was it him and his campaign completing, like not going on further with them, or what you had expressed to him?
But it was I will say it was definitely him not taking their questions. Certainly that was the biggest, my understanding, that was the biggest, because to be honest, some about half stayed and the rest left out of, well, it was interesting. The energy was kind of off. And I'm going to say this, I'm not going to say how many percentage people, a few people left right after when he left, some of them left. And then some of them stayed over after.
Yeah. See, that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to say something. It was the program itself that I wanted people to see because of the different circumstances that was going on that I could see.
Right.
50 years. I learned 50 years ago that there's no such thing as free press.
Come on.
There's no such thing as a balanced press.
Yes, sir.
So I learned that 50 years ago. So what I saw, it was the techniques that was going on, different things going on, which I saw in the program. They intended for you to ask one question, depending on how you ask the question, that will determine whether or not you got a second question.
Yes, sir.
You got in what you got in because you was blessed to do it the way that you did it.
Yes,
but
sir.
you were never supposed to ask but one question, and they were going to determine from that question whether or not you would get another question.
Yes,
so
sir.
When you did what you did,
yes, sir.
Yeah. She said no question.
Now, it left out of that room, it left out of that studio, it went all the way back up top.
You got it.
Do you know what the hell she just did? Cut off.
Yes.
This is what we wanted to happen.
Yes, sir.
So the beauty of it is that our people would get an opportunity to see how this thing really goes.
Really go.
And most of those who have a show don't have a show.
Yes.
And that's why these shows, and that's why, my dear sister, I love the boldness of your show, because it's easy to see that you're not directed by the enemy.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Most of the shows that we have, 85% of them are absolutely directed and controlled by our enemy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
She's beautifully supported by our people, you know, very wonderfully, and that's why she can remain, you know, free. I know I saw next to Mr. Kennedy, the brother's phone was going off. I don't know what was on his phone.
Oh, yeah. No, they were told. No, they were told.
I don't know, but I know what that looks like.
And I'm sure the people, and as you were saying, the people were going off because nobody knew what to do, and they really didn't know how to stop it. They wanted to do whatever they had to do, but they had to do that without letting the people know that we're trying to shut her up.
Right, and that's exactly
right.
Yeah, and then they wanted, of course, our own people wanted to seize the opportunity to speak directly to, which I understood, a presidential candidate and someone of his stature. So I totally understood that, but I had nothing to do with the way in which it went. It was my spiritual team, and I'll say this, and how it went down. You know, before I got there, I understood the weight of what it could possibly be because of my spiritual work that I did before. I got there, you understand, not knowing exactly play by play how it was going to work out. But I'm saying when you are divinely connected, you don't just have the word in your head in a speculative manner to where it's just in your head. My prophetic gift is I embody it. I feel it. It infuses me, and I'm moving in that thing. So when people laugh at me, or when I move a certain way, and I teach a spiritual course offline in my mastermind school, but even when I'm online doing political commentary, the movement is not to be funny how I move. It's how the energy is flowing through me at a particular time. And so one of the things I've told some folks that listen to me is I said, you know, you wonder why certain ones are ineffective. I said, spirit rocks with me because I don't mind being mocked. Spirit can trust me because even when it comes in a certain way and I look strange, I can say something wrong, but you can still hear it right. And I'm affecting other dimensions in how I'm saying and what I'm saying. See, what makes you effective is you being obedient to how spirit is causing you to move, notwithstanding how you perceive. And that's the reason why it rocked him, it rocked his team, and it shut down everything else. And then there were some other things that happened later, which are private that I won't say here because you can only imagine.
That was at the root of the question I asked you. I asked that question about what did you go through as you were manipulating through what you knew was going on.
It happened, and that's such
I'm asking you about your way of fighting.
That's good. That's good. It was me surrendering in the moment to the flow of whatever the words that spirit gave me in that particular moment. That's how I chose to do it. And I'll say this, it's really a submission to energy that I'm feeling, spiritual energy in that moment. And to be honest, because I had my little mini agenda that was there because I wanted to make sure right before I got there is when I got the download in the car to quote Thomas Jefferson. So I was making sure I was pulling up the exact quote so I could say that right. So I was just barely getting that particular word. So then there was one other word that I got right before there. So I actually had my agenda right there with one or two phrases here or there. And then I had my phone, which is what I was quoting from, because that's when I got the download right before I got there. So for me, it's just about a surrendering to whatever would be. I just know I was appointed to be in that place. And so the meditation that I did before I got there, the prayers that I did before I got there, I knew it would sustain me. And I'm going to say this, and I hope this isn't too deep for folks to understand what I'm going to say here. I knew this clearly that Brother Robert F. Kennedy Jr., this has to do with the spiritual lineage that he reps. Spirit showed me the connection with his, not only his father, of course, but his uncle, right? That was the president of the United States. And specifically, them being placed during the era of the civil rights movement, yes, in the 60s, what was happening in the world when his uncle and his dad, right? The Cuban crisis, the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was so much, right, that was going on. What is that rep? It was not by accident, you understand, that this girl from Mississippi was standing before an extension of those particular individuals in that moment. So it was a lot of the unseen stuff. That was what I was referring to when I spoke. When I spoke to him, so I understood that in that particular moment that there was unseen counselors there with us. So I rested in the other folks that you couldn't see that were present, that they were there. I knew that was going on, and in fact, I know I was being guided by those energies and some of the stuff that I said, because these clips were put out on several other platforms, and not just because several of them did, tens of thousands of views on one clip on multiple platforms. The overwhelming response that I heard were people that were emotional, that were moved, that were coming from all walks of life, and how they took this. I knew that spirit was effective, and my goal was to do to sow a seed. You understand? To sow a seed in the same way I intend to do next month when I speak at the reparations rally next month, June 15th in Washington D.C. with Brother Tariq Nasheed and others. So it's about the unseen spiritual work.
I saw you made up your mind. I saw you become determined to finish your point.
Yes.
I saw you become determined.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You feel so respectful in it, and it's something because I wrote out all my questions. You answered them all.
Wow.
Just in our dialogue, not that I don't have any more that we're going to wrap right now, but especially what led you to caution him that way, to speak on a spiritual level. It's my humble opinion, when you speak about those that did not get a chance to talk to a presidential candidate, I feel for them at the same time. I'm like, what would they have said?
Right.
I love that we're taught we plan and Allah plans, and Allah God is the best of planners.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Yeah, you could have had a dozen people, Black people, speak to him, but about what? And what was lasting? And again, our issues. If I may, and then Brother Sultan, your next comment or question, I would like to again shout out Brother Tingba, the article that he wrote, which gives you a shout out beautifully. Get your
love to him. Yes.
Yeah. It's entitled, I should have put the picture up there, but it's RFK Jr.'s Black Jewish Delusion by Tingba Muhammad.
Please read it.
I'll go with the first two points in it. One was a quote that he used. He cites by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And then I'll go with his opening paragraph, and I'll put in where people can read it, because it's so important, sister. We can't reiterate, not by yourself here, right? And so Dr. King's quote is, and all of what you spoke and the response, I said, right on, Brother Ting, but this is a very good way to start. But states, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor. Now, listen to this, okay? It's not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to quote unquote order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice.
Oh, come on.
That's Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail. Brother Ting's article, and I'll read this next paragraph and then we'll continue. He said, when confronted by journalist Vicki Dillard on his stance on several Black issues, including his support for Israel's genocidal obliteration of Gaza, Israel's targeting of Black youth, and Israel's training of police in America, presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ducked, dodged, and resorted to the standard political pablum. Boy, Brother Tingba can write, can he? He could express it first. But he said the pablum that every politician knows to pitch to the Black electorate. But what this Caucasian Irish Catholic lectured Blacks on how grateful they should be to white Jews for all they have done for them. He brought arrogance. Oh, it says when, not where. He brought arrogance and ignorance to new levels. And the article goes on, and that is something, because I remember I worked for an attorney once, and this Black attorney had written a letter of complaint to the judge about how he was treated by opposing counsel, and that was one of the first things the opposing counsel came out with in his letter. He marched with Dr. King. He did this with Dr. King, and it's a rabbit out of the hat. But go ahead, Sister Vicki.
Yes, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because his response, I should say that he had quite a lengthy opening. So even when you were talking about the energy of whether or not one of the brothers were giving him, he and brother Jeff went back and forth at least a half an hour. It may have been more.
Wow.
Before he brought up as the opening, the one that was basically moderating the event.
Yeah.
So he went back and forth. So in the course, and I love brother Jeff, certainly. So when you were talking about the energy and was somebody being his firm, I will just let you. I will let you use your imagination, and you can. I'm gonna
find it. I want to watch that.
I'm gonna let you use your imagination. So yes, I did maintain, because like I said, I give account to an unseen government. So that's why I'm not supposed to shake, because that you saw what I read right from Jeremiah 1 when I was a little girl. If you dismayed in their faces, then I'm going to confound you before them. So so I'll just leave that at that. But in the course of that conversation, he kept telling us why he was against reparations, and why and how the court made a ruling not too long ago that one could basically not get redress. In other words, I'm paraphrasing, by specifically talking about we're Black. So the reason I was keen on emphasizing lineage, the reason why you heard me emphasize that, because that's always the talking point that they use now to justify, well, you can't get reparations. So we have been consulting with some of our own Black attorneys, and we knew that, okay, we can use this lineage base to push. So that's why I emphasize. And did you notice what he said in his response? Yes, the lineage base may have muster. He said it would, but what y'all didn't hear was the first part before they called up me and brother Anubis. So I was keen on addressing that, because that's a trick to make sure. So that's why I kept saying, and I will also emphasize that this is not some charity or you being altruistic. This is a debt you all owe us. So that I emphasize that. One other thing I wanted to say is when you bring up how they invoke Dr. King, and I certainly wouldn't be disrespectful. And like I said, the murders of Cheney and Goodman and Schwerner,
that's right.
Of which of the Jewish folk that were in Mississippi. And please, we would not disrespect I'm not disrespecting the murder.
That's right. Their sacrifice.
But the media uses it. It's like a photo op. And when we talk about Jewish folks that march with Dr. King, that's a photo op, y'all. I mean, I'm sorry. That's a photo op. You cannot compare that to the weight of the substance of what I brought up when I said the multi-volume book, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, and what your community, what the Jewish community, rather, not his, but what the Jewish community, the hell that they brought upon my people. He didn't address the substance of what they did. Instead, watch this, he reverted to photo ops. And again, no disrespect to those that were out there marching, but that's not as substantive as what I'm bringing you with the undoing that you're responsible for in terms of my people and slavery and some of the exploitation and oppression that continues today by those who are Caucasian Jews. That cannot be denied. So he didn't even address that. He wanted to talk about a photo op with March with Dr. King, which I was, that's why we knew I was winning.
Now he did do something a little different that I had not heard. He mentioned 100 million Native Americans.
Can I address that, please?
Yep. But the 100 million Native Americans.
Why did he do that? Why he did that was because in the course of my speech, I specifically said that America has to deal with her original sin. So he tells me later that the original sin, and he said it, it's about the original sin, what we did to the Indians. Well, guess what we know now? We know that some of the originals are who? Black-skinned ones before what Dr. Clark Anderson teaches us, that they're technically historically named called $5 Indians, because the treaties today, there are some benefits that Black folks are supposed to be getting in the treaties right now. And to qualify for some of that, white folks wanted to get in on that. So they literally back in the day paid $5 to a particular agency, which is why we call them $5 Indians. So even the original ones, you understand, were still black skinned, heavily melanated folks before they started to be like. So notice how he deflected so he wouldn't have to deal with the issue of slavery. White folks don't even want to talk about the Indians before then, but the moment you start talking about reparations for Black folks, he ran to the Indians, talk about original sin. So that's why he brought that up.
But those Indians, that Indian that he's talking about, they came over here on their own. They over here 16,000 years ago. We came in the hulls of ships.
Come on now. Yes,
no
sir.
Choice. We had no choice.
Absolutely no choice. And so you see how they reverted and tried to deflect. So that's why he brought that up. So I was ready for him, even if we did. But I knew I was going to
mention something to both of you. I'd like to mention something to both of you that I saw this morning. Very interesting, because this is what's going to come. You know, the Honorable Evangelist Louis Farrakhan always made it so clear how they always want to write your history.
Right.
And they want to write yours, they want to write mine, they want to write Sister Charlene's and everybody else's. So this morning I saw something very interesting. It's AI, and it showed Jesus with shrimp heads as his arms and feet. Jesus made of spaghetti. But in almost each picture, there's a little black boy there.
What?
So what's the connection? And I'm thinking about it. So now that we're beginning to know that Jesus was a black man,
yes, sir.
Now he's going to become a cartoon. Now he's going to become insignificant. So that's why what you're doing, my dear sister, and what's being done here with Sister Charlene and this program is free media.
Yes,
this
sir.
is the kind of media necessary for freedom, justice, and equality. And none of them, none of the candidates, which of the candidates are going to speak for reparation?
Come on, bro. Exactly.
As they go through the churches.
Exactly.
Yes.
Come on. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I want to say this quickly.
Okay.
I hope that in my exchange with Robert F. Kennedy, it's my prayer. And this is why I so value what we're doing here and your very kind words and the invitation to even do this. And even Brother Tingba, when he followed up through an article, you know, it's interesting that when Candace Owens had her issue and them calling her now anti-Semitic, a lot of our folks jumped on that conversation, right? I saw some of our people doing full broadcasts on it and all this kind of stuff. And I see others that are jumping on a lot of other stuff too. What I want our people is to take this and do what you will with it to show this moment and amplify it and elevate it in terms of, because it's still specifically with us, our particular issues. And yes, even also the Palestinian plight of America being, you know, genocidal as well, because this is not just Israel. Obviously, we know we're the ones that's providing them with the money and the weapons. And so we're equally the leadership in the United States are equally culpable for this genocide that's happening right now on our watch. I want us to expand this, even like we're doing here. And also, again, our brother Tingba, when he wrote about this in his in the follow-up article about this moment, but also to push our agenda for reparations, as well as, you know, when we're addressing this matter of genocide in Palestine, this is a tool for us to do that and to take the mouth and the words of somebody that's in the halls of power and that interacts with others that are powerful, to utilize this and his statements that he made. He said some pretty interesting things when he says that he doesn't basically have to listen to the majority of the people. When he said that, you know, when he makes his decision, he doesn't have to do what the majority says. Well, are we an authoritarian government or not? Are you supposed to be representative of the majority here or not? When he made that statement, of course, he was feeling some kind of way because he didn't expect that energy from me. So even one of his staff said, actually, even a member of his staff, after it was over, said that they had never even heard him say that like that before, that he doesn't have to listen to the people. So those are things that we can elevate and utilize so many parts of that And it's my prayer that when folks see that encounter, that they see themselves and see the new changing of the guards. I always say that there's a changing of the guards, and then there's a changing of the gods. Right before our eyes, there's a shifting of governments. People that they call the nobodies, right? The people that they call the deaf, the dumb, and the blind. We're going to be the new world rulers, baby. So get used to seeing somebody that's bamming a gavel, using a laptop and a cell phone to reach the world, using alternative media, talking to a presidential candidate that comes from a well-known lineage of the Kennedy family. Well, I have a lineage too. I have a maternal grandmother, my maternal lineage, my paternal lineage that was wrapped through their granddaughter from Mississippi that was standing there speaking before him. This is greater and this is bigger than us. That's my prayer, that we will see that this is our time now, face to face. We see Minister Farrakhan has given us an unbelievable example of this over the many decades. Yes? And I'm sure he wants us to be the ones that's rising up now. Some time back, I was being attacked online from a number of different people. I'm gonna say this and I'm finished. I was being attacked from a number of different people. I was receiving physical threats. I had some of my spiritual brothers and sisters. I won't get into who all, but they personally contacted me, wanting me to back down on certain topics and how I was coming across. And it was a lot of stuff that was going on. I had some high-profile people from mainstream media that was blocking your sister and having public comments to say about me and, you know, kind of dogging me and some other stuff. So it was just nonstop, back to back, as well as what I'm dealing with health-wise, as well as what I'm dealing with privately in my own life. And of course, I was not directly in touch with the minister at that time, but I received a call directly from his office with a direct message from the minister. And so when the brother hooked up the thing on the phone, I won't give into details on what was what, but I was given permission to say this much, that he told me to continue to feed my people. I was astonished that he was watching me as much as he was, even though I was told he was familiar with me. But apparently the family in his office was even pretty surprised at how much, and it was the minister that initiated the this message, this call that was supposed to be given to me from him, and to continue to resurrect my people. And so that's another thing that I would say this, Brother Sultan, when you were talking about boldness earlier, that's another thing that fortifies my boldness. I would say, because there's no more high level, more than a man that I would be worried about hearing from. And whose endorsement and love and support I receive with my unusual ways and antics. I'm gonna say this, and I promise you I'm finished here. I know we're wrapping up. Sometime back, one of the brothers contacted me, and he said, Sister Vicki, I was talking to another brother, and he said, Sister Vicki, when she gets on there, she's so sweet and kind. She got that big smile. She comes, grace and peace. Now this is him telling me this conversation. He said, him and the brother was saying, she comes on there talking about smiling, talking about grace and peace. And then he said a few minutes later, she's giving out digital toe tags. So I want y'all to remember what I said. If you don't remember nothing else I said, remember that Jeremiah 1 scripture. Remember that part says, he told Jeremiah he wanted him to root out, destroy, overthrow, then build the plans. So I got a little bit of demolition that I have to do sometimes.
You gotta put the accent on. Where's the gavel? Where's the gavel?
Yeah,
Come on with it. Come on with it.
You all forgive me. My system shut totally down. It just could not handle the beautiful message you received and you were sharing with us, young woman. My computer went click.
Oh no.
Yeah. But it did not discontinue the broadcast. So that's beautiful. Well, Sister Vicki, oh my God, I asked for an hour. I know you do so much for us, for yourself, for your family. We don't want to keep you. We do want you to come back, however.
Oh,
please.
Yes. Absolutely. It'd be an honor, a privilege. Yes, of course. Yes.
We will arrange it. And Brother Sultan, would you like to just give maybe a final comment or a brief question to her? And Sister Vicki, you can make your closing remarks. Wow.
I'll make the closing remarks, and she actually got to a point that I wanted to get to when she was about to talk about that relationship with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Oh.
And I wanted to know, from a woman like this, from a soldier like this, what is his value to you?
His value to me. Now I'm gonna say this. I claim. Look, and we have to be, because real careful, because I know I'm not official, nothing, but I claim him as my spiritual daddy. I claim everything about Minister Farrakhan.
That's right. Claim it.
And you can believe he claims you as his spiritual daughter.
So I will be, and I always, trust me, I'm real clear. I get the disclaimer whenever I'm talking about it. I always make sure it's not a fit. I have to make those disclaimers when I'm public, but I'm just being real with my family. I claim as much and as everything. Let me tell you why.
Right.
So much of what, in terms of so much of what I believe, my vantage point and perspective about the world and the connection to spirituality, no matter what nuances may exist there, Minister Farrakhan is the pioneer of that. Minister Farrakhan has been an exemplary example to the world in the political space, in religious and spiritual spaces, and much of what he has seeded, yes, for so many decades. And I know I wasn't there at the beginning of a lot of stuff. I know, I'm telling you, I personally feel like that consciousness that he seeded out some type of way, I feel like I'm a part of the fruit of that. I feel like I'm a part of the harvest of that. I feel like that a part of what he stood for and a lot of what he's been saying, I believe some of that is being driven forward. And I believe that I'm a beneficiary of that. I was also in the belly of the beast in a federal prison based on an unjust case. What fed me was a Final Call newspaper every week. What fed me, I ate it as if it were my life. It was his words and the lectures there, which is why when I got out, I immediately connected with one of the local now mosques here. And it was some of the brothers. Even I spoke to Brother Richard when I was in the belly of the beast, and he had not even met me physically in that moment, a couple of the other brothers that were in the nation. So I have to say, and even when I was there, one of the other ladies, inmates, she was actually getting stuff from the nation. So I was allowed to sit in on some of the services there, and they were still restricting and censoring even the prison, certain messages that would come through the minister. They were never even allowed to get through, but the ones that were able to get through, DVDs and so forth, even they would allow me to sit in to listen to it. So I've got to say, dear brother, it's more than I can say. It's incalculable, and there's no way I could actually say that except to say I claim every bit of him, and I feel like I'm an extension in the fruit of the seed of his consciousness that he has been seeding all over the planet for so many decades. That's the best way I can say in this moment.
So I want to say, as I leave, that I hear him coming through you.
Don't make me cry.
Go ahead.
So beautiful. So beautiful.
This has been so wonderful. Thank Brother Sultan. That I don't have a final question or remark. That is a way to go out. Sister Vicki, any final word that you would like to add? And of course, let us know if we can follow you, the audience, hashtags, show, all of it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm some of you are used to seeing me on other networks like Fly Nubian Queen and Your Black World and some of the others, but I've not been directly connected to those networks in some time, but I am still doing geopolitical news, for example, on African Diaspora News Channel. Of course, you can find me with a couple of different channels on Facebook, and I am Vicki Dillard on TikTok and Dillard Vicki on X, formerly Twitter, and Rumble and some other spots. But you can find me on my YouTube channel at vickydillard.tv. Like I said, I have a spiritual school, but the biggest way to stay connected with me is my website that's right there. If you're on my email list right there, VickiPlanet.com, just join my email list, and then you'll be getting updates, so you'll know where you can find some of my broadcasts, my live, or some of my other content, because on the other platforms, it's basically pre-recorded content, but it's still my content that you get to still see me on other platforms. But live, I'm on at vickydillard.tv. I've got a book coming out this year as well, and I've got a magazine that we have going out every few months. Got a meditation that's coming out. So we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. So that's what I'm saying. Just connect with my email list. Make sure you're part of my email list at Vicki Planet. And then that way you will receive regular communication to know what I'm up to, including information about my monthly spiritual mastermind school known as the Vicki Dillard Mystery School. So I would say just do that. VickiPlanet.com to keep it simple. And VickiPlanet.com, subscribe there and you'll get regular updates. And I just want, again, to let everyone know that the difficulty, the tumultuous environment, the volatile environment that we're in, where it's war here domestically with our people and war abroad. We see so much happening in the economy. We're hearing about the rise of BRICS, the rise of so many of these other international blocs, and the fall of America and family. Didn't we know it? Weren't we given the heads up by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Yes. So we're not at all surprised. But who's going to rule next? And so I want us to remember that we got to get ready. It's our time to be the new world rulers based on freedom, justice, and divine equity, right? I want us to know that this is real. And what you're seeing play out before your eyes is literally the changing of the guards and the shifting of the worlds. And tag, you're it. And please know, notwithstanding whether you have a past, whether you feel like that you have enough credentials, whether everybody loves you or not, like you or not, pat you on the back or not, that's not the qualifications. Why? Because it's written that God will use the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. The base things of the earth, it says, to deal even with the most powerful. So just know that if you lock in and you align yourself with the divine, with like even the Nation of Islam, yes, you are not in any greater, any better hands than to be prepared for the new way, the new world. And so I want us to be reminded of that, and notwithstanding the difficulty, my mother, I got several brothers and sisters. My mom, birthing babies is not, she's good. She was good at that. And one of the things I know based on my mother's stories on birthing her babies is that there's pain. Yes. There's bloodshed. Yes. There is extra money and resources that you have to expend when you get ready to birth a child. Yes, everything changes in your home. Everything changes in your world. But though it's difficult and though it's pain, and though when mom was pushing, yes, and though her body changed, there was something good that was on the horizon. She was getting ready to birth a new life. So I want to remind us that yes, it might be bloodshed around us. Yes, it might be a lot of pain, but it's a sign that something new is being birthed. And that's the new world that we're a part of. And so for that, I want us to remember that and we're called for such a time as this. That's it. Thank you so much.
You see what we're talking about? Spiritual, divine.
Yes.
So much. Thank you, Sister Vicki. That is it.
Thank you both, and I bow to you both. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
I bowed first.
And I bow second. May I continue to bless you both. We will look forward to your return, and I'll let you both go, and I'll do announcements. And thank you, Liberated Sisters. Stay right there for the announcements. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you so much.
Wow. I just want to share some comments. And as you see, as we do that, thank you, Brother Hoyle. I didn't go through too much during the show to announce it. We're usually 2 hours. Liberated Sisters had scaled it back down to 1 because it's just so much information. We have a lot of different podcasts. I think that 1 hour is just enough information and we can take. And I really am blessed by you all tuning in. We did not do a lot of any promotion, because again, this show today was going to be pre-recorded, and thank Allah we were able to go over live. Thank you again. So we have the books. I would like to, let me see how I can show the books that sister referenced not only during the show, but also during her exchange with Mr. Kennedy, and as well as our brothers and the minister, the Nation of Islam's research group, which Brother Sultan is a member of. They put these books out, and they're, as she said, multi-volume. So let me present that just real quick. Share screen. Where is it at? Window. Here it is. No. I'm I'm trying to get it. I don't know how to get that, the photograph there, and pardon me for not being able to. So I'm not able to do that, but they are The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, volumes 1, 2, and 3. And we also have other books there, noiresearchgroup.org. And Brother Abdul Qiyam will be our guest. Brother Abdul Qiyam Muhammad, pardon me, will be our guest this coming Thursday. And we will also rebroadcast this soon. But this is the flyer for Brother Abdul Qiyam. It's going to be not the date there. We'll update that and push it out. But it is going to be this Thursday. And we are going to be speaking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan has just turned 91. Look at this beautiful ray of sun right here. We're doing the Liberated Sisters feedback line regarding his Savior's Day message. And so more will be coming out about that. Minister Farrakhan's Savior's Day message. What does Allah, the great Mahdi, and the great Messiah have to say about the war of Armageddon? This is the war that is taking place right now. And so that'll be coming soon. I want to remind us that we have the new volumes of the Twitter book, simply called, but it is the Teachings 2.0, Twitter sayings of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. If you would like to sponsor someone, some books, you can please contact Brother Abdul Qiyam Muhammad on Twitter to do that. And he also has his blog where you can reach him. And so, again, we were so honored to have our beautiful sister Vicki Dillard with us. Reach out to her. And so let's just get to some of the comments as I ask you on behalf of the Closing the Gap Broadcast Network. This is how we can donate to keep the network going. We have many different podcasts, a lot of information, health, spiritual, healing, of course, guidance. We have the Mother Show, Closing the Gap broadcast with Sister Starla Muhammad, Student Minister James Muhammad, network founder, Brother Student Minister Chad Muhammad. And so we have a production team, and this helps to sustain the network, which is growing. So here it is, the information right there. Would you please, if you would care to do so, donate to Closing the Gap. And so thank you so much for tuning in. Here's a comment from Gerald Reed of Sister Colleen. We thank you for tuning in. And here's Sister Vicki Dillard's contact information, Vicki Dillard TV, and on and on. So I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad. Thank you again for tuning in. And if it's impacting our community or can uplift us as a people, we say let's do something about it. Peace.